It all started on a quiet Saturday morning. I was out by the barn, finishing up chores with my new farmhand, Jake. He's a calm, no-nonsense guy. Real dependable. Always shows up early, does more than asked. What most folks don't know right off the bat is that he's also an off-duty sheriff. He doesn't wear the uniform around here, just blends in like any regular guy. That detail, though, would have made all the difference, especially to one particular neighbor who's made it her life mission to control everyone on our street. Enter Karen. Yep, that kind of Karen. The one who acts like she's president of the world just because she's on the HOA board. She's always had a thing against my small farm. Claims the animals are an eyesore and that I'm lowering property values just by existing. But today, she took things to a whole new level. Karen saw Jake outside the fence, loading, feed into the truck. Without asking questions or even speaking to either of us, she stormed over, accused him of trespassing, and claimed he looked suspicious. Within minutes, she had her phone out, yelling about calling the authorities. Except, get this, Jake is the authority. You'd think she might pause if someone asked her to calm down or listen, but nope. Karen actually tried to detain Jake herself, started shouting about a citizen's arrest, like she was in some courtroom drama. That's when things really started to spiral. Jake didn't react how you'd expect. No shouting, no pushing back. Just a strange, calm silence that made me realize Karen had no idea who she was messing with. And what happened next? Let's just say it left the entire neighborhood in shock, and Karen with a whole new perspective on playing cop. But I'll get to that in a second. Now, a little context on how we even got to this point. I moved to this quiet neighborhood a few years ago, hoping for some peace and space to run my small hobby farm. Chickens, goats, a few garden beds, nothing crazy. Most of the neighbors were fine with it, even came by for fresh eggs or produce. But not Karen. From day one, she acted like I was breaking some sacred HOA rulebook written by her and only her. She complained about the smell, the noise, even the color of my barn door once. I tried to keep things civil, ignored the passive-aggressive notes, smiled when she sent warnings about lawn height or minor fence repairs. But her obsession with control only grew stronger. And Jake? He's been helping out on the weekends, for about a month now. He doesn't wear his badge or carry a weapon while working here. He just wants a break from the craziness of law enforcement. Says the quiet rhythm of farm life helps him recharge. He's polite, respectful, the kind of guy you'd never guess spends his weekdays breaking up real-life drama. But to Karen, he looked out of place. That was enough. So when she saw him near the edge of the property stacking hay bales, her imagination must have gone wild. She didn't recognize him, didn't ask a single question. Just marched up, waving her phone and barking orders. Said he had no right to be on private HOA land, even though it was my property, fully, fenced and clearly marked. Jake stood there, quiet as ever, letting her dig her own hole deeper and deeper. I was on my way back from the shed when I saw the commotion. At first, I thought maybe she was just having another one of her power trip moments. But then I heard her say something that made my blood run cold. She actually called in a report. And what she said to dispatch? That's where the real trouble began. Karen told dispatch that there was a suspicious man trespassing on HOA property, possibly armed. That one sentence flipped the entire situation on its head. My stomach dropped. She didn't just call in a concern, she framed Jake as a threat. And knowing how quickly things can escalate when law enforcement shows up expecting danger, I knew this could go sideways fast. I rushed over and tried to explain, but Karen wouldn't hear it. She kept talking over me, repeating how she knew the rules and that people like him didn't belong here. The way she emphasized that last part, it wasn't just about Jake being unfamiliar. It was something uglier. She didn't care who he was. She cared that he didn't fit her picture of who should be in our neighborhood. Meanwhile, Jake stayed calm. He didn't flash his badge or raise his voice. He just quietly asked her to step back, told her she was mistaken. But still she kept pushing, literally. She even tried blocking his way when he walked toward the gate. Her voice kept rising, now attracting the attention of a few neighbors. I saw blinds moving, phones recording. Karen didn't notice, or maybe she thought she was being the hero. And then, in the middle of it all, her husband came jogging over. Poor guy looked mortified. Tried to get her to back down, whispering something about Jake's badge. That's when I realized he knew. Somehow he had figured it out, or maybe Jake had helped with a neighborhood issue before. But Karen wasn't hearing it. She was too far gone, now shouting about how she'd get the HOA involved, that Jake would be removed by force, if necessary. The tension kept building. You could feel it in the air. Something was about to give. The patrol car hadn't even arrived yet. And when it finally did, the entire street went silent. That's when everything changed. But not the way Karen thought it would. The squad car rolled in slow, lights flashing but no siren. That eerie kind of calm before the storm. The officer stepped out, hand near his belt, scanning the scene. Karen immediately waved him over like she was the one calling the shots. She launched into a dramatic retelling. How she caught a trespasser, how she feared for her life, and how the man had refused to identify himself. It was a full performance, complete with fake tears and exaggerated gestures. Jake stood a few steps back, arms crossed, still saying nothing. The officer nodded along politely, but I saw his eyes flick to Jake. And in that moment, something shifted. It was like silent recognition. The officer's whole posture eased just slightly, like he knew exactly who Jake was. But Karen didn't catch it. She was too busy painting herself as the neighborhood savior. I stepped in again, trying to calmly explain that Jake was on my property, helping me with farm chores, not trespassing on HOA land. Karen cut me off mid-sentence, snapping, "You don't speak for the HOA. He's not authorized here." Her voice cracked louder now, a mix of panic and frustration that she wasn't being taken as seriously as she expected. More neighbors were, outside now, phones out, watching. The officer asked Jake for ID. Jake simply nodded, pulled out his wallet and handed over a card. Karen leaned in, trying to peek, and that's when it happened. The officer glanced at the card, then did a full double take. His face went from routine to alert, then suddenly very serious. Karen, still not picking up on anything, laughed awkwardly. "See, just a wannabe." But the officer didn't laugh. He stepped between Jake and Karen and asked her to stand back. The look he gave her was firm. The silence from Jake broke. Calm, but direct, he spoke just one sentence that made Karen freeze in place. And in that moment, it was clear. Everything was about to flip. Jake finally spoke, his voice steady and low. "Ma'am, I'm an off-duty sheriff deputy with this county, and right now, you're dangerously close to obstructing law enforcement." Karen blinked like she hadn't heard him right. For a few seconds, the whole street felt frozen. The neighbors watching went quiet. Even the officer beside him shifted, his stance, now clearly standing with Jake. But Karen didn't back down. Instead, her face twisted in disbelief, then full denial. No, you're lying. You're just covering for him." She turned on the responding officer. "He showed you a fake ID, didn't he? This is a setup." Her voice was shrill now, panic mixed with pride. It wasn't just that she felt embarrassed, she felt cornered, and that's when people like her double down. The officer didn't flinch. "I've worked with Deputy Jacob Turner. His credentials are real." He said it plainly, no drama, but it hit like a thunderclap. Karen's mouth opened, then shut. Her husband stepped forward, trying to guide her away, whispering something to her, but she shook him off hard. "You're all against me! This whole neighborhood is a joke. And just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, she made her next move. The twist no one saw coming. Karen pulled out her phone again, not to record this time, but to call someone. You'll regret this. I know people, she hissed, pacing in circles. You think he's a sheriff? I've got friends on the city council. You'll all be sorry. That's when the officer's backup pulled in. A second patrol. Car, more uniforms stepping out. The tension skyrocketed. Jake didn't move. He just gave the officer a nod, like this wasn't the first time someone tried to pull rank where they had none. Karen didn't realize she'd just taken it from bad to worse. The moment she made that second call, she escalated things beyond what anyone expected, and the consequences were about to hit a lot harder than she ever imagined. The second patrol car pulled in fast, tires crunching gravel. 2 more officers stepped out, serious and alert. One of them, a sergeant by the look of it, walked straight toward Jake and gave him a respectful nod. Deputy Turner, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. That was it, the moment Karen's whole act started to crumble. Her face drained of color. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. The sergeant turned to her next. We've received a report that you made a false emergency call, interfered with an officer's duties, and attempted to detain someone unlawfully on private property. Karen stammered. But I thought, he looked like he didn't belong. I was just protecting the neighborhood. Jake spoke again, this time addressing everyone around. I was here doing honest work. No uniform, just a pair of gloves and a shovel. But what happened here today? It wasn't just a misunderstanding. It was profiling. It was power tripping. And it could have gotten someone hurt. The words hit hard. A few neighbors shifted uncomfortably. Some lowered their phones. Karen stood frozen, breathing fast, eyes darting around like she was trying to find a way out. Then came the final blow. The sergeant informed her that a formal complaint had already been logged, by her own husband. Turns out, he had called it in while she was busy making threats on speakerphone. Said he was tired of the harassment, tired of the drama, and that he wanted it on record that she didn't speak for him or the HOA. That twist left everyone speechless. The officers calmly escorted Karen to the side, not in cuffs, but clearly treating the matter seriously. She kept muttering about being misunderstood and just doing her duty. But no one was buying it anymore. The show was over, and the woman who tried to arrest an off-duty sheriff ended up exposing herself far more than she ever expected. After, the officers spoke with Karen privately. They let her go with a formal warning, but she didn't leave with the confidence she arrived with. Her husband, still clearly embarrassed, walked her home without saying a word. The neighborhood was quiet again, but something had definitely shifted. A few neighbors came over afterward, shaking their heads, apologizing for not stepping in sooner, or thanking Jake for staying calm under pressure. It was like everyone had seen behind the curtain and finally realized who Karen really was. Jake, as usual, brushed it off. Just another day, he said with a small smile, wiping his hands on his jeans and going right back to stacking feed like nothing happened. That's the thing about folks like him. Real strength doesn't need to shout. Later that week, a letter from the HOA went out. Turns out Karen had been operating way outside of her actual authority. She wasn't the president, not even a voting member anymore, just someone who clung to an expired title and a false sense of control. The board made it clear her behavior didn't reflect the community's values, and going forward, all HOA-related issues would go through official channels only. As for me, I kept running my little farm just the same. A little more peaceful. Now, a lot more supported. And Jake? He still comes by on weekends, boots dusty, ready to help. But now when folks see him, there's a new level of respect. Not because of his badge, but because of the way he handled chaos with calm. This whole thing was a wild reminder that authority doesn't come from yelling the loudest or making the most threats. It comes from character. And sometimes, the quietest person in the room is the one who's really in charge.